Ladies and gentlemen, come gather round, come gather round, come gather around. Today, we're putting a cup holder in the 61 Chevy pickup because there ain't no cup holder in there and I want one. Let's go! So using Fusion 360, I arbitrarily designed something like this, which is more or less what I ended up with. It wasn't my first design, but this is what it more or less ended up with. There's two holes in the back. I welded nuts on them and they were held in with a 1/4-inch screw. There is a notch sectioned here because it was a little too far away from the bottom seat cushion. But we've got a good amount of space here. I think it's 3 inches for depth of cup. And I think the cup holes themselves are like 3 inches or something. I don't remember. That's kind of what it looked like. Then once it was plasma cut, and this is kind of what I ended up with, we just carefully weld it together. In this case, I'm using an Arc Captain TIG 200 welder I've been playing with and testing recently. Quite a nice little welder. You'll be seeing a review of that at some point, hopefully soon. But a decent little TIG welder. And I have these, I don't know, crazy block jig things that I picked up somewhere for probably cheap and hardly ever use them, but they're beautifully spaced and nicely machined, which helps me hold something vertically, as well as I kind of like the spacing that it has. You can see in the background some sway bar, end mounts, end links, brackets, whatever, for a sway bar on the Hyundai Accent that I've been playing with. There's a couple of videos on building those sway bars, and about the time I was doing this, I was coming up with my next design. I think also TIG welded. Might not have been. It is, I believe, all 1/8 inch steel. Plasma cut. If you do a good job of running the plasma cutter, you can get your speeds all set up right. If you go too slow, you get slag on the bottom. Go too fast, you get slag on the top. But it usually breaks off and chips off nice. Don't use a file to set your, or to remove the slag off of, or dross or whatever it is, off of plasma cut stuff. So a couple tack welds, tweak it until you're feeling like you're a successful little tweaker, and then tack it. Always telling my students, don't fully weld nothing until you got everything tack welded. I know the temptation and excitement to fully tack weld stuff. Just hold your horses. Make it work. Get comfy. This torch, you'll notice, has a push button switch on it to trigger the thing, but I bought a foot pedal for this. This welder works pretty decent with just the torch switch, but you definitely want the pedal. You can do it without, but you definitely want the pedal. And then just TIG welding that all nice and neat. Would be just fine MIG welding this. I just wanted a tidy, nice, pretty weld. I find MIG tends to put the filler down a lot quicker than I want. TIG is just prettier. Tack welding, you want to have the current set pretty high so it instantly obliterates everything and hopefully sticks it together. And then you can get in there with filler and go for it. But stuff always moves, it always warps. One of the things I like about TIG is you don't put down a lot of filler, or if you don't put down a lot of filler, it doesn't move and warp quite as much. I think, and I'm not a ticketed welder, the bigger the weld that you put down, like the thickness of the bead is going to be, the more it shrinks when it cools and it causes things to warp. It's always a good challenge to figure out how are you going to get in there. You figure this looks kind of like the Starship Enterprise in a way. It's like a spaceship coffee holder. But it works pretty good. Being 125 thousandths, I probably had the welder set at about 125 or 130 amps. This part is just spaced, the spacing of the blocks that I have, and eyeballing it till it looks kind of nice. It would have been smart to key these two together so the vertical would have a little slot this thing can fit into, but I didn't think that far, so this works. Easy enough to keep them parallel with like a table. I love locking pliers, whether they're Vice Grip or some other brand.
And the more you work on stuff, the more your collection of locking pliers becomes. You could make your own. I've made a few tools. Then a couple little spots of trying to figure out how am I going to get in there. I probably did not have to weld both sides, but whatever. And this is just my first design for a coffee cup holder, a cup holder in this truck. There might be other designs, but this is what came to mind. And the nice thing about it is if I don't like it, well, I'm stuck with it. Or I can make another one. Maybe sell this one or something. Or paint it up like the some starship thing. Now, when it was all done, I painted it with Ford engine gray, which is the same color as the interior of my truck, which is the same color as my engine and the engine bay. But once it was done, the gray just looked a little bit more of an eyesore. It kind of stood out a lot compared to the dark gray of the seats and the dark gray of the carpet. So you'll see it painted gray, and then you'll see it painted black. I welded 1/4-inch nuts on here. They are zinc coated. You really should not smell the fumes or breathe the fumes from welding zinc. It's not good for you at all. You know you're breathing it if it smells like sweaty onions. And if you've welded it before, you know that smell. It's the best describer I can give for you. If your onions are sweaty, you're probably welding zinc. And then since I already pre-drilled a hole, what I probably should have done is welded the nuts and then drilled through the nut and then ran the thread through there. But this, I just realigned everything with a tap on a drill, which works slick. And then coat of paint, which you won't see. Here it is painted with the Ford engine gray. Not exactly the same gray that I did on the inside, because this just came out of a spray can, but it was convenient. And then held in through the bottom. Yeah, the seat's just plywood. These are bucket seats from an 04 Honda Civic, and the center seat is made out of the back seat from the same Honda Civic. Just because I got 2 kids. Got to be able to cart some of them around. And I'm not an upholsterer, but it worked. Didn't quite like the fit of this, so I shortened it and cut a notch out of it, which you'll see.
So, let's see how it turned out. Here it is in all of its glory. Cup holder right there. Now we're inside. Less echo, 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 echo. So cup holder. I made a little bit of a change. I cut out a little section there to bring this a little bit closer. If we come down, here like so, we'll kind of see it like this. Probably need a good light. Let me get a light. Look at it with a lot of light here. Okay, so down below, a little bit, cut a little bit shorter than I wanted to get it closer to the cushion, which worked out okay. It attaches down below with some screws coming up. Panhead cap screws up from the bottom of this piece of plywood. Sits there nice and dandy. Holds the cups. And from a driving position, it all falls nicely to hand. I got my cup of coffee fits right there. Maybe my wife's cup of coffee as well, because like I'm extra thirsty. But it all fits there nice and neat. And if I'm sitting in the middle seat, this is well under your knees, so it's not totally in the way. Whether you get hamstrung in a collision or not, who knows? But we got cup holders. We're going to be holding some cups. We'll try this once we get plates on. Probably do a Timmy's run. Eh? All right. As always, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you again.